So Andy Burnham has just been installed as Prime Minister, and it's quite funny because when we had all the Conservative changes of leadership without general elections, when we moved from Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak, the calls from the left and Labour were always, general election now, these Prime Ministers have no mandate, we must have a general election. And it's quite funny. I mean, obviously, Andy Burnham was one of the people that used to tweet stuff like that, used to call for stuff like that on an almost daily basis at one point. And it's quite funny now that he's been installed as Prime Minister with no general election. Labour are like, oh, we're just not going to have a general election, we don't need to have one. And it's like, well, you just made yourself look like absolute massive hypocrites for all the times you crowed that we needed one when the Tories changed leaderships without holding elections. But what I find very, very interesting as well is that the Tories also aren't calling for a general election. You'd think they would be. But it's all just opportunism, isn't it? Because the Tories aren't doing well in the polls. So they're not calling for an election, even though it's morally the right thing to do and Labour have no legitimate mandate. And you'd think the leader of the opposition would be calling for a general election. They're not, because they know they get wiped out. Which just shows they have no moral courage and no balls. Now, the only party with any guts about them, and actually with any moral authority now, are Reform. Now, Reform are no longer really leading the polls. I think the latest poll from Survation put them dead level with Labour at both on 24%. So, Labour might very well win an election were we to have one tomorrow, potentially. But Reform are still calling for a general election because it's the right thing to do. You've just had a change of Prime Minister. He's, announcing things already that were not in the manifesto that Keir Starmer was elected on. So we need to have an election now. And Reform are literally the only party calling for that, even though they're not really, their leaders at the very least disappeared. They could even be level. So, good on Reform and shame on all the rest of the political establishment.